Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in to another Journeys with Jack podcast. Today, I'm going to speak about Rwanda. Bonjour, Rwanda. That is why I am wearing this local garb that was given to me by the Christian Unity Fellowship Church in Kigali. I had the pleasure of going to Rwanda in year 2020. 2020. So late January, early February, right before things all got shut down because of a little thing called COVID. Now, it was a great experience. I went over as a medical missionary with a group of people from a local church here in Savannah, Georgia, to help out at the Christian Fellowship church that I mentioned, but also I had an academic appointment at the CHUK Teaching Hospital, main teaching hospital in Kigali. That's pronounced in their dialect Sasha UK, but this is a picture of my Rwanda medical license. Pretty cool thing to have. Rwanda is a fascinating place. I spent a good bit of time in Kigali. A couple of things that they really do right in Rwanda. Number one, no plastic bags are used, so you don't have all this plastic trash blowing all over this beautiful country. Another thing, because they have lots of hills and consequently lots of erosion, they ask that you do not walk on the grass, and that helps maintain grass throughout the city. Very green city Kigali is. So let me talk a little bit about it. It's a long flight from East Coast United States to get there. We passed through Belgium, had a little bit of a layover, and then came on into Kigali and were picked up that evening by the minister and his wife from the church that we were going to help out with. And we went to a very rustic place, the Presbyterian Guest House, over near the Presidential Palace. And this is really the area of town where there's a lot of United Nations personnel, also diplomats, political personnel, and Rwanda has a very strongly developed banking business. Rwanda is a very small country by African standards. It's over on the eastern side of the continent, and it's surrounded by much bigger countries, Tanzania, Uganda, Democratic Republic of the Congo, sometimes called Zaire. And it has really come out of the genocide of the 1990s rather well and has developed this financial center due to its stability. I rather enjoyed it, and it has great things to offer, and I'm going to recommend that you visit. I would like to first talk about the area where I stayed near the Presidential Palace and not too far from Hotel Mil Kalin. Now, I could walk to the hospital. Usually I would be picked up by some of the local doctors, and a little shout out to Dr. Gracian, the ear, nose, and throat physician who would pick me up and take me in the clinic. I worked in the dermatology clinic, ENT clinic predominantly, and as an allergist I had the opportunity to see some patients, do some diagnosing and treating there, which was fantastic. So in this area of town, the Mil Kalin Hotel is located that I mentioned earlier. The Mil Kalin translates from the French into Thousand Hills Hotel, which is a tribute to the hilly terrain of Rwanda. Now, you may remember the movie called Hotel Rwanda starring Don Cheadle and Nick Nolte. This took place during the genocide, and Don Cheadle portrayed a man, Paul Rusesabagina. I'm probably mispronouncing his name, but nonetheless, he was a great hero. He sheltered some of the Tutsis who were unfortunately being attacked and killed in the genocide by Hutus. Now, my friend, the ear, nose, and throat physician, Dr. Gracian, explained to me that he really could not tell the difference between Hutu and Tutsi. Likewise, I could not. Rwanda had been colonized by the Belgians, and as happens sometimes when a country is occupied by other forces, the occupiers seek to create some division between the natives of the country. And this happened in that during the time of the Belgians, there were identity cards that were given to different Rwandan citizens and declared them either Hutu or Tutsi, even though there weren't per se distinguishable physical characteristics between the two, but it engendered a sort of animus between them, and that lasted for quite some time and culminated, of course, at the time of the genocide. Now, I would highly recommend this movie, which I found to be pretty realistic from what I learned by interviewing people at the church. A gentleman named Phineas, for instance, who had survived the genocide even though he was struck in the head with a machete. Amazing that he survived. And also from the information that I gathered at the Genocide Memorial, which is a fascinating museum on the outskirts of Kigali. The other principal star of the movie was Nick Nolte, who portrayed the Canadian United Nations General Romeo Dallaire. And he did his best to try to prevent the genocide, but this was an instance where the United States really let these people down. It was reported to the United States in the 1990s that there was genocide going on, but the Secretary of State at the time refused to call it genocide, and thus the United States did not intervene, and this great tragedy unfolded. Thank goodness that the Rwandans have come through it now. Ultimately, many people lost their lives, including many of the UN peacekeepers. I don't know the exact number, but somewhere around a dozen or so Belgian soldiers were killed in the conflict as well. So let me move on from the negative to the positive. Fortunately, 2020 and onwards, the Rwandans are doing rather well. It is a very highly developed city, Kigali is, quite crowded, quite prosperous, some very good restaurants. One I would like to put a shout out to is the Ajabu Cafe near the medical school and university hospital, where I had the pleasure of eating with some of the medical staff several times. And then I need to get this pronunciation right. The Kana Kazina Indian restaurant, which turned out to be the street behind the Presbyterian Guest House, and it was absolutely fabulous. I, upon its discovery, ate there repetitively. Now, I would like to also put out a shout to the very friendly people at the Hotel Mil Kalim, who allowed me to utilize their workout facilities while I was there. And they also organized a tour for me to basically a photo safari. And I think at this time I want to kind of come off and talk about that a bit. There are two principal safari activities that you want to do if you're one of those into photo safaris, as I am. On the western aspect of the country, you can see the silverback gorilla. That would be over in the direction of Democratic Republic of Congo. The eastern direction is Akagera National Park. I want to hold that up so you can read that well. Akagera National Park is massive. It is larger than the country of Belgium, and it borders Tanzania. So I was able to get a gentleman named Radiki to be my guide from Kigali on to the park. The Hotel Mil Kalim made the arrangements for me, and he picked me up about 5 a.m. at the guest house one morning, and we drove out to the Akagera Park. And along the way, we'd picked up a second guide who had tremendous knowledge of the elephants. Now, I want you to please tune in to my Journeys with Jack Instagram and Facebook to see these great pictures of the wild animals, hippopotami, I think that's the plural, elephants, giraffes, impalas, baboons, monkeys, zebras, the crowned crane, which is actually on the state flag of Uganda and on the patch of Uganda that I have sewn on my travel bag. Then many, many other animals, warthogs, water buffalo, bucks, on and on. So fascinating picture of the animals. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't mention some of these fascinating facts about elephants that I learned. Elephants are able to detect motion through their feet in the ground vibrations for several miles. Also, elephants, when one dies, they dig a grave and they have a cemetery, and they mourn for the death of one of their own. Elephants are the largest mammals, and they have the longest gestational period, about 22 months. Amazing, isn't it? Well, thank you for tuning in, and I hope that you will check out the photographs that I'll be posting shortly, and I hope that you will join me for some more Journeys with Jack on not only YouTube, but also Instagram and Facebook. Have a great day.